Good day, I'm Hannah Marie A. SANTELLA and I'm here to discuss the first part of how to construct alternative courses of action, particularly on how to establish and assign weights on the decision criteria and how to develop alternatives. By the end of the discussion, one must be able to fully understand the process of constructing and weighing decisions and to be able to know how to form viable alternative courses of action. The previous reporter discussed the concept, the components, and the process of those analyses. This method summarizes the findings of the internal analysis, external analysis, and financial analysis. Using those matrix, the entity can develop and draw strategies in making their alternative courses of action. Basically, alternative course of action is not just a simple action. It is a set of concrete actions that provide a comprehensive approach to the decision situation. In constructing this, the proponents must be able to know how to create decision criteria first. So the decision criteria can be determined by looking at the objectives. These are the variables to be used as the indicators of success. And assigning of weight to each item assess the relative importance of this to the main problem. Each criteria must be within the scope of the problem. And these are possible solutions for the one or two specific problems. According to the previous lecturers, one lecturer mentioned that the number of specific problems must be equal to the number of specific objectives. However, in decision criteria, the criterion can range from 3 to 5 variables. Each criterion shall receive a weight that can be in decimal form or percentage form, as long as the total result is equal to 1 or 100%. According to Professor Casurao, the weighing of the criteria should be based on the order of prioritization, meaning the proponents should put the highest weight on the top priority or the most important factor or the main concerns of the company's problem. And the lowest rate must be given to the lowest or the least priority of the company. It should be noted that no criteria should have the same amount of weight to avoid accounting the same idea more than once. This tends to avoid overweighing the importance of the same criteria. So, the decision criteria must be defined as clearly as possible to ensure that the criteria viewed will be the same in the evaluation process. It should, as I mentioned earlier, it should be different from another in terms of higher or lower priority and independent and not overlapping content to avoid overweighing. It is presented in table form where the criteria is in the left column and the weight is on the right column with the total at the bottom row. Here is an example of a specific problem of Filipino Shell Corporation. From this, the proponents came up with this specific objective. If you will notice, the objective of speeding up the turnover of the accounts receivable will result in the increase of the entity's cash. Therefore, it will result to a higher liquidity. So you can see that from there, it is part already of a decision criteria. The same process goes with the other specific problems and other specific objectives of the entity. After doing so, the proponents will now have to weigh them according to their priority. Once the decision criteria is done, it will now serve as the basis in developing alternative courses of action. I already mentioned the definition of the ACA, which you will notice is more concrete and specific than the decision criteria. Let's say, for example, the alternative course of action of the Filipino Shell Corporation is undertake initial public offering. It is more concrete and measurable plan for the entity to achieve the decision criteria of liquidity, since issuance of stocks generate additional cash for the entity. The proponents must remember these following in making their alternatives. It must be mutually exclusive and mutually independent and equally competent alternatives. According to Professor Casurao, all alternatives must not be superior or inferior to one another. All of them must be equally feasible in all ways, and only the evaluation and analysis would determine the best suited ACA for the entity. It must be value-focused, meaning the ACA is meeting the end of the objective, and it must be small in number but high in quality, meaning all poor alternatives are already eliminated and the remaining are the refined ACAs. In summary, the decision criteria serves as the basis for the proponents in developing their alternative courses of action. Though all ACAs are feasible, only one will be chosen for the entity. The ACAs will undergo the process of analysis and evaluation, which will be further discussed by the next lecturer. That is all. Thank you.